Hi, it's the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your August 2017 general readings. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Welcome to any newcomers who may be here for the first time. Yes, my background has changed. I am off doing the gypsy thing again. I am currently bouncing around Europe for the next couple of months. I'm currently in beautiful Poland right now. My schedule still remains pretty much the same, still posting the general videos, still doing personal readings, still working with clients. So thank you always. We had a jumper here. Always a thank you to those of you who continue to watch, listen, follow, subscribe. Thank you for all your wonderful support, feedback, and for the comments that you send. And thank you for those of you who continue to reach out for personal readings and also for my wonderful regular clients as well. And if any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me and you haven't read with me before, you can click on the About or Description button on my YouTube channel's homepage, which will give you a little more information and my email address, which is Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. You can email me directly. I would be delighted to work with you. I do a wide variety of readings. And current turnaround time, because I do readings full-time 6 days a week, it is what I do. Current turnaround time is anywhere from a few days upwards of 2 weeks, but we can almost always schedule a reading for you within a 2-week period of time. So if you're interested, send me an email. I do readings anywhere from 15 minutes up to an hour and a half, year overviews, channel messages, love and romance, career, work, and finance, compatibility chartings, etc. So send me an email if you're interested. We will go from there. Remember, these are general readings. They're not going to mean the same thing for everybody watching to the same degree and intensity. I mean, there's thousands of you watching, so how could they possibly mean the same thing? Which is why we always suggest you check your rising and your moon sign videos if you know them and if you can. They may play out a little more predictively for you, or they just may, watching all three may give you just additional bits of insight and clarity into what's going on in your life. So try to do that if you can. This reading is for Gemini, the air sign of Gemini, Gemini the twins, for the month of August 2017. So let's get into this. Gemini, we have the Two of Swords. And since this is the beginning of the month generals, I will be doing the customary 2 cards per week with an additional 9th card from the bottom of the deck for overall guidance and advice. So we begin with the Two of Swords and the Tower. We have the Five of Cups and the Four of Swords. We have the Nine of Pentacles and the Three of Wands. And at or towards the end of August 2017, time being somewhat fluid as I always say, we have Temperance and the Fool. And from the bottom of the deck, your overall energy and advice is the Six of Swords. Wow, it's kind of an intense reading, Gemini. It's all about kind of letting go and moving on to a large degree, which is interesting because I just finished Virgo's reading for August, and theirs was, the theme was the same. The cards were different, but the theme was the same, and the feelings, the channeling was kind of the same too. Although I think they had a little more reluctance and resistance in theirs in moving forward. Let me just take a minute to look at this. Juice, not wine. I say that because some months back, I was drinking juice. This is actually a great juice I found in Poland. It's kind of like a compote. It's made from stewing a lot of different types of juice. Sometimes they use just cherries and then chilling it. It's really quite good and very good for you. But I was drinking some juice some months back doing a video, and I had some people write in about, are you drinking wine? I'm not. I'm drinking juice. Okay, Gemini. Some intense energy. It looks like a lot of you are going through some Tower card energy. I feel like for a lot of you, this is something which has happened quite recently. It could be something, well, I mean, it's ongoing, but I feel like the event itself for a lot of you is something that happened quite recently. And you're just in the emotional kind of wake of it, the aftermath of it. But for some of you, this could be actively going on at the beginning of August, although I'm recording this at the end of July. So we find ourselves around the end of July, beginning of August with the Two of Swords, air energy, and the Tower. So air is the element which governs the suit of swords. It's all about that airy world up here, what goes on up in our heads, words, ideas, communication, uh, uh, our outlooks, our belief systems, basically how what we think about things, how we look at things, and how that affects how we communicate. Swords is also about truth, insight, clarity, higher education and learning, mental, cerebral, intellectual energy. The Two of Swords, twos can represent balance, but they almost always represent duality, being at a crossroads, needing to make a choice. The Two of Swords is about being stuck, needing to make a decision about something, needing to choose a path one way or the other, needing to make a decision, feeling stuck, feeling perhaps like you don't know what to do, as evinced by the blindfold. But the blindfold often, and I'm kind of getting that here too, especially since it's sitting next to the Five of Cups, the blindfold can represent having something in front of you which needs to be dealt with, which you need to look at and do something about, make a decision about, take action on, but you don't want to. Kind of like keeping your head in the sand or ignoring the 800-pound gorilla in your living room. A reluctance and a resistance to looking at something head on, because taking the blindfold off and looking at it means that you'll have to acknowledge the reality of what's going on and do something, make a decision. Now, it's accompanied by the Tower card, which is a major arcana card. I know a lot of people clench up when they see the Tower card because there's such negative connotations. Organically, the energy of the Tower card, like many major arcana cards, is neither one thing nor the other. It can represent, this represents a life-changing event. Sometimes this can feel at the time very positive, like winning the lottery or getting that marriage proposal you wanted, or, you know, something absolutely mind-blowing in a really blessed way happening. A lot of people don't, you know, are afraid of the Tower card energy because a lot of times it represents the destruction or removal or shaking up of something that we thought was solid, stable, reliable. And sometimes in the destruction or removal of something, it's always meant to go. It's either harmful to us or it served its purpose, and we've usually been given the opportunity to deal with it ourselves, but we haven't. And so at some point the universe comes in like a bolt of lightning here and just kind of does it for us. But it does represent something which comes in and fundamentally shakes up your world and potentially can be a game changer. So for some of you, and I feel like for, you know, and whether we view it as positive or negative is really in the events around the event itself. But it's in hindsight too, almost always in hindsight, looking back, you know, it's okay, that was the best thing that ever happened to me, even though at the time it felt very, you know, traumatic, painful, challenging, etc. The key to dealing with energies of major arcana cards like the Tower, particularly if it represents an event that's painful, challenging, traumatic even, is to accept, if not embrace, the fact that it's happened because it was meant to happen. Divine timing and orchestration. Even if at the time we can't understand why it happened or see a reason for it, it's kind of walking in faith and not trying to fight it, not trying to stay mired in it, and kind of moving through it. It'll enable us to move through a little bit quicker and a little bit easier if we don't resist quite so much. That's kind of the key to understanding and utilizing the Tower card energies, because in retrospect and in hindsight, the further we get away from it and looking back, we can see more, we have more clarity and insight onto why it occurred, particularly if it's about something which felt, again, challenging, painful, traumatic. So, but again, the Tower card can represent something that changes your life and at the time feels, you know, very blessed and positive as well too. But again, meant to be divine timing and orchestration. So for a lot of you, Gemini, around the end of July, beginning of August, I feel like for a lot of you, this Tower card energy, whatever this event is that's happened, has happened very recently for a lot of you. Some of you, it may be ongoing at the time of this reading or right at the beginning of August. But with the Two of Swords, I feel, again, and it's similar to Virgos, there's this sense of not wanting to accept it or not wanting to deal with it or not wanting to actually even admit that it's happening. Or perhaps that it's as bad as it seems. There's this, because I'm getting this sense of, nope, nope, nope. I don't want to, yes, but I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see it. Maybe I can glimpse it out of the corner of my eye, but I don't, and I don't want to deal with it. Or maybe it's something that's happened and your way of dealing with it is just to not deal with it, to just kind of put it aside and just keep going. But you can't really keep going. It's kind of there. It needs to be, it needs to be dealt with, or at least there's a process. You know, perhaps for some of you it's a grieving process too. And I feel like again, because there's so many of you watching and it's a general video, the specifics of the stories, depending on who you are going to play out differently, but fundamentally the energy remains the same. There's something going on which is really, or something which has recently gone on. Some of you, it could have been longer ago and you're still just kind of mired in it, still not willing to let go or admit to something. And it could be for some of you, I'm getting, okay, you don't want... Perhaps something has happened that was very difficult, painful, challenging. There was a part that you actually played in it, or a result of perhaps a hasty or unwise decision. And again, there's this reluctance or resistance to admitting it or to owning that you had a part in it. That's for, I think, a small portion of you. So next we move into the Five of Cups with the Four of Swords. So here it looks like we start off with this process of not wanting to deal with it, or not wanting to deal with a portion of it, or maybe not even wanting to acknowledge the reality of what's going on or what's happened. And we move, which is difficult to say the least, but then we move into actually kind of grieving over it with the Five of Cups and the Four of Swords. The Five of Cups is a card about grieving over what you no longer have, what no longer is, lost, something that you've lost, something which has been taken from you, or something which has changed in a way that you don't like, beyond all recognition. But the cautionary advice to the Five of Cups is that the danger is getting stuck in it. Because grieving, the healing process and grieving from something, whatever the loss represents, anything from relationships to jobs, death, whatever it is, there's a process to it. And the danger is not getting stuck in it by just dwelling on it. A lot of people feel like holding on, focusing only on the loss, keeps the thing that we've lost close to us. That if we actually let go, that we're letting go of whatever it was that we lost, or that it negates it somehow, which it doesn't. There's a natural process to grieving and to moving on. We're not meant to get stuck in it. You can see this man is on his knees, and he's totally focused on loss and grief. These three goblets which are tipped over and spilled out, which represent whatever it was which is no longer in his life. This Tower card energy, loss, grief. Again, for some of you, I'm getting that it's extraordinarily difficult for you because there was a part that you had to play, or that there was some hasty or unwise decisions which precipitated this Tower card event, this energy, and you're kind of getting mired in this quagmire of regret. Be vigilant about that, Gemini. There's a certain sense and need, if that's the case, to look at that honestly, to own up to it, and take the lessons that you can and move on from that, so you don't make the same mistake again, but not get stuck in dwelling on it and going over and over and over again and beating yourself up about it. So be careful about that for those of you for whom that applies. So so all of his attention is focused on this, to the point that he can't even see these two beautiful goblets which are behind him, because he's not focused on them. They represent things in his life which are still there, still beautiful, things to still be grateful for. They can also represent opportunities which are there or which are coming, which he will miss, because his attention is focused again only on the source of the grief, the regret, etc., whatever it is. Again, that cautionary advice: don't get stuck in that. Acknowledge it, take what you can from it, and move on. The Five of Cups is paired with the Four of Swords, which is a card of rest, respite, restoration. It's a card of withdrawing, even temporarily, from conflict. It can be a card of feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, not taking enough good care of yourself, needing to take better care of yourself, to get more rest. It can represent taking a time out to recuperate, recover, get some peace, perhaps go without in and seek some insight and clarity. You can see that he's these three swords are pointing down at him, which can represent a conflict. It looks like he's been in a battle. He's still girded for battle, which is kind of an implication that it's a temporary withdrawal of some kind. His own sword is still lying close next to his hand in case he needs it. But for the time being, he's taken a step back. He's withdrawn from the conflict. He's taking a break from it because he's tired, he's worn out, he's exhausted. He needs to rest, recuperate, get a little bit of distance, get some perspective, take care of himself, get some insight on it, which is what needs to happen. Don't allow yourselves, Gemini, whatever this incident is, to get too stuck and sucked kind of down into all the negative energy of it, because you run the risk of actually doing harm for yourself. Well, some of you may have a challenge in doing that around the second week of August, or some of you may just be, taking some time out to grieve, to look at this, because it looks like at least when it happened or for a little while afterwards, you weren't actually dealing with it. You weren't actually acknowledging it. And maybe that's because, you couldn't. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes we have to go through this period where we just can't deal with it right on. But again, having that process last longer and longer is not healthy either. At a certain point, we need to look at it, deal with it, and go through whatever process of grieving and moving through it that we can. Just make sure to take care of yourself while you're doing this, Gemini. Some of you, maybe even a lot of you, this might be a relationship, perhaps a long-term relationship that you had that ended. It could be loss. It could be death as well. If there's anybody out there who's going through that, my condolences completely. Well, my condolences anyway, because I mean, it looks like a lot of loss and grief about something. I think for some of you, it's a relationship, perhaps a long-term relationship, or even a marriage that's ending. Perhaps it was so painful and so overwhelming and so unexpected that you just couldn't deal with it for a while, and then you got stuck too deep in dealing with it. So again, be careful of that. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the relationship sector. It could be some of you, perhaps you lost a job or a home or something like that. Again, something that you thought was solid, stable, reliable. The energy remains the same. Now, around the middle or so of August, it's time to move on. It's time to move on and get a sense of your own self-empowerment and self-sufficiency back, and move forward into the future. Start building on your future again. We have the Nine of Pentacles, followed by the Three of Wands. Pentacles is earth energy. That's the element which governs this suit. And Pentacles, I apologize for the glare. The weather here is so changing that the light keeps fluctuating. The Nine of Pentacles is earth energy, so it often manifests in earthly, tangible ways, things we can see and touch and feel, often things like money, finances, property, real estate, etc., or tangible results of the efforts we put into something. The Nine of Pentacles has been sometimes nicknamed the happy, single, successful woman card, female or male, it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't really matter if she's single or not. The point is, she's enjoying all of these things that she's surrounded by, which imply prosperity, abundance, and she has this extra sense of self-satisfaction because everything that she's surrounded by, that she's enjoying, she's earned herself. Nobody handed anything to her on a silver platter. She worked very hard for what she's gotten, and she's now enjoying the fruits of her labors. It's a card of independence, self-sufficiency, self-empowerment. If she's single, great. She loves herself, her life, where she's going. If she has a mate, great. She loves herself, her life, where she's going, etc. She doesn't feel the need to be with somebody if she's not with somebody. If she does, she'll take her time choosing because she doesn't feel, a compulsive drive for it. It's a card of moving forward, of taking control of your life, of yourself back, and moving forward in a very powerful way, which I'm happy to see. It's almost as if it's like the first half of August is completely different than the second half of August. So it's like something maybe happens. Maybe it's taking that time out, which gives you that fresh perspective you need, getting some rest, recuperating, recovering. So we have that beautiful, powerful Nine of Pentacles energy paired with the Three of Wands. Great card. Wands is fire energy, active, dynamic, fluid energy. It's all about creating and building and manifesting, artistic, creative endeavors, career, stuff like that. It's about manifesting. The Three of Wands is is an interesting card. It's about doing the footwork, laying the groundwork for something about your future. The tarot is a journey. It's about the journey. And in some ways, it's the fool's journey. He's the zero. He's the first tarot card in the deck. And it's kind of about his journey. The Three of Wands, the card before the Three of Wands is the Two of Wands. It shows a man standing at a crossroads. He needs to make a decision which path he's going to choose. The key is long-term thinking and planning. How do you know which path you want to take unless you know or have some idea of where you want to end up at? So it's about choosing that goal, that long-term goal, so you know which path to start on. We have the Three of Wands here, which is, so you've already had that. You've decided to move forward. You've taken control back of your life, decided to move forward and on from this. The Three of Wands is about actually laying the groundwork for that, doing the homework, the research, laying the doing the footwork, the initial steps towards that. You have now a goal to work towards, and this is about the initial beginning steps to manifest that into reality as time goes on. Very powerful, independent sort of energy, this combination of cards. It's kind of like, this very challenging, even perhaps painful and traumatic thing happened. You spent some time maybe not really acknowledging it, and then you spent some time grieving over it, taking some time out, and then you've decided, I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm going to learn what I can from this. I'm going to take what positive I can, leave the rest behind, and move forward. I'm going to take control back of my life, of myself, my choices, my decisions. I'm going to set some new goals for myself, short-term and long-term, and I'm going to actually put action to it and start to manifest my own power, my own reality, my own life path again. Lovely, powerful energy, Gemini. Good for you. Go get them. So at or towards the end of August 2017, we have a beautiful combination of cards. Lovely. We have two major arcana cards. We have Temperance and the Fool, my favorite card. The Zero, the first card in the tarot. In some ways, these are rather opposite or contradictory energies, but they can blend together rather nicely if there's balance, which is what Temperance is about. Temperance is about temperance, balance, finding your center, being grounded, which it looks like you do. It's almost as if something happened, so I'm always excited to hear feedback about how this relates to people specifically, for those of you for whom it does. This is about finding your center, being grounded, which is kind of that unshakable place of knowing, okay, I know who I am again now. I know what I want, where I'm going, and nothing can kind of shake me from that. It's about being in the middle of the seesaw and teeter-totter instead of the outside ends where you're at the mercy of anything external. This is about being so grounded that you don't lose your balance. You have that perfect point of harmony, holding opposite extremes in perfect balance and unison. And it's paired with the Fool, which is about brand new beginnings. It's actually about the infinite possibilities in between something ending and something new beginning. That time where you're like, what's possible? Anything's possible. Everything's possible. The breath before the first step. The Fool is also about stepping outside your comfort zone, taking a risk, perhaps doing something you've never done before in order to achieve something different. Always cautionary advice, stay balanced, because the Fool doesn't think about, what he needs on a journey. He just goes. He doesn't think about whether he's packed enough underwear and socks, food and water. We want to make sure there's water in the pool before we jump. So there's a certain amount of some balancing to be made here. But the Fool is here to remind us that the true purpose and joy in life is in the journey itself, not in reaching the destination. It's about our growth and evolution as human beings. And sometimes stepping off the trodden path into something completely new, taking a risk so we can achieve something new. But again, remember to stay balanced as well. I feel like the majority of you do. It's like, yeah, Gemini, it's kind of like a phoenix from the ashes kind of month for you guys. It's like the first half, oh my gosh, and then I'm taking it back again, and I'm off and running again, and I'm being reborn again. It's a beautiful, beautiful energy. Make sure to take care of yourself. I keep getting this kind of repeating theme, repeating message, repeating feeling. Take care of yourself. Going through whatever it is, even the grieving process can really wear you out. Make sure that you stay balanced and taking care of yourself. Get enough rest, get enough sleep, enough nutrition, all of that stuff. Take care of yourself. Do whatever it is that makes you feel connected. Spend some time in nature. Take hot baths, massages, whatever makes you feel kind of helps relieve pressure, stress, grief, etc. Because we can hold those things in our body. Your overall energy and guidance is the Six of Swords, which is about peace, restoration, healing. You're moving through this process. It's transitional, meaning the water behind her boat, like the Tower card energy, choppy, wavy, turbulent, like a hurricane, big waves smashing about. She's left that behind. The worst is behind you. She's moving into more peaceful, settled, serene waters. It's kind of quiet, kind of somber a bit, maybe a little sad, but you're still moving through it. You're healing. You're moving through this energy. You're not quite to the other shore yet, but you are definitely on your way. Peace, restoration, healing. Take the best of what you can with you, and try very hard to leave any anger, bitterness, resentment behind you as you move forward. Intense, powerful reading, Gemini. You are so up to the task, and how brave and strong and courageous it looks like the majority, if not all of you are, in dealing with whatever this is, and always ready and willing to hear about how this resonates with you. So thank you very much for watching this video, Gemini. That pretty much wraps up your August 2017 general reading. Again, if any of you would like a more personal, tailored just for you, one-on-one reading with me, and you haven't read with me before, you can click on the About or Description button, which will give you on my YouTube channel, which will give you a little more information on my email address. Feel free to email me directly at Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I would be most happy to work with you. I will see you all again for the mid-months. I'm going to try and do the love snapshots perhaps over the weekend, beginning of next week. That's my goal anyway. So I will see you all again soon. And until I do, as always, Gemini, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. And I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.